trapped as her. The soft hum of the city outside my apartment did little to calm the storm inside me. I sat at my small kitchen table, tracing the rim of my coffee mug with trembling fingers, trying to steady my thoughts. My name is Ryan, though in the quiet corners of my apartment and the secret world I allowed myself to enter, I became Riley. It wasn't just a name. It was a persona, a version of myself I rarely let anyone see. Crossdressing had always been my private escape, a thrill that balanced precariously between fear and exhilaration. By day, I was an ordinary office worker, tucked neatly into collared shirts and sensible shoes, crunching numbers and pretending to be someone I wasn't entirely comfortable with. But by night, behind locked doors, I explored a side of myself that was daring, expressive, and beautiful in a way I couldn't articulate to anyone. Not even to Emma, my girlfriend. Emma was smart, affectionate, and in many ways, my anchor in a chaotic world. Yet, even our relationship had unspoken boundaries I dared not cross. She didn't know about Riley, about the silk dresses, the makeup, the thrill of transforming entirely into someone else. Tonight, the apartment was quiet, with only the soft glow of the lamp on the counter illuminating the space. The mood was different, tense, expectant, electric. Emma had gone out for a late-night meeting with a friend, leaving me alone with the apartment and my thoughts. The freedom should have been exhilarating, but instead, my heart pounded with a mix of anticipation and dread. I had prepared everything. The outfits, the heels, the makeup laid out meticulously on the vanity. Tonight wasn't just about cross-dressing. It was about testing limits, about fully embracing Riley in a way I'd never dared before. I leaned back in my chair, running my hands through my hair, imagining Emma walking through the door early, catching me in the act. My stomach twisted at the thought, a mixture of shame and excitement surging through me. Could she accept this side of me if she ever found out? Could anyone? I shook my head, trying to push the thought away. Not tonight. Tonight, it was just me and Riley. I stood and moved to the bedroom, the silk of the dresses I'd carefully chosen brushing against my fingertips. I picked out a soft lavender dress, delicate yet daring, perfect for the transformation I craved. The fabric was smooth, cool, and comforting against my skin, and as I held it up, I felt a flutter of nervous excitement. This wasn't just clothing, it was armor, an identity, a statement. The process of transforming into Riley was both intimate and thrilling. I began with my hair, brushing it carefully, smoothing each strand as if shaping the very essence of my persona. Makeup came next, each stroke precise, deliberate. Foundation, blush, eyeshadow, mascara, each layer transformed me, not just physically, but emotionally. As I looked into the mirror, I saw Riley staring back at me, eyes wide, lips soft and inviting, a version of myself I longed to embrace fully. My heartbeat accelerated, a cocktail of fear, desire, and liberation coursing through me. High heels were the final touch. The first step was always precarious, balancing on the slender spikes, but once I adjusted, I felt taller, stronger, more present in a way I rarely did as Ryan. Every movement felt heightened, every sway of my hips deliberate. I was fully Riley now, a woman who existed only in these stolen moments of solitude, yet so vividly real it felt dangerous. Emma's presence lingered in my mind despite her absence. I thought of her laughter, the warmth in her eyes, the way she leaned on me when life became overwhelming. Could she ever see me like this? Could she ever love both sides of me? The questions gnawed at me, but I forced them aside. Tonight was about embracing the transformation, the thrill, the vulnerability. Tonight was about stepping into Riley completely and discovering what it meant to exist as someone entirely different, yet undeniably me. As I admired the final reflection, I felt a strange mixture of empowerment and fear. The thrill of Riley's existence came with the weight of secrecy, the constant tension of being discovered. One wrong sound, one unexpected knock on the door, one moment of distraction, and everything could unravel. Yet that tension was part of the allure, part of the danger, part of the reason I craved these moments so desperately. I took a deep breath, adjusting the hem of the lavender dress, smoothing my hair, and stepping fully into my heels. Riley was alive, vibrant, and intoxicating. The city outside hummed quietly, oblivious to the drama unfolding in my apartment, but inside, a storm was brewing, a storm of desire, fear, and transformation that promised to pull me further than I had ever gone before. And then, just as I felt the thrill cresting, a faint noise at the door made me freeze. My pulse quickened, every instinct screaming that the boundary between private indulgence and public exposure was thinner than I ever realized. Someone might be coming. Someone might see me. And in that moment, I realized the true danger of Riley. Once unleashed, she might never let me return to being just Ryan again. The soft tick of the clock on the wall became deafening as I lingered in front of the mirror, adjusting Riley's dress for what felt like the 100th time. Every glance at my reflection brought a new awareness of the transformation taking place, not just in appearance, but in psyche. I wasn't Ryan anymore. The shapely curves, the soft sweep of hair, the gentle weight of makeup on my face, even the way my heels forced a new posture, all whispered a truth I had never allowed myself to fully acknowledge. Riley wasn't just a persona. She was me, perhaps even more fully than Ryan. And yet, the exhilaration was tempered by fear. Fear of Emma. Fear of discovery. Fear of judgment. Every rustle outside the apartment or unexpected knock on the door sent a jolt of panic through my chest. My heart raced, but somewhere beneath the fear, there was a thrill, a delicious tension between vulnerability and power. I had never felt more alive. I moved around the apartment, testing my new stride in the heels. The click of the floor beneath me was rhythmic, deliberate. I swayed my hips slightly, fascinated by how different my movements felt. It was a dance between sensuality and caution, every step both empowering and precarious. My mind raced with scenarios. What if Emma came home early? What if a neighbor peeked through the window? Every possibility sent a shiver down my spine. The transformation wasn't only physical. Riley carried an emotional weight and freedom I hadn't anticipated. I felt bolder, more expressive, more willing to embrace gestures and thoughts I had long suppressed. There was a thrill in choosing a delicate brush of blush, a flick of eyeliner, a subtle adjustment of the wig that framed my face perfectly. These weren't merely cosmetic choices. They were acts of self-assertion, statements of identity. Despite the excitement, guilt gnawed at me. Ryan had always been careful, cautious, measured. Riley was impulsive, daring, reckless even. I realized the longer I stayed in this persona, the harder it would be to return to Ryan's life of safety and predictability. And yet, part of me, the part that thrived on freedom and secret indulgence, wanted to stay, to explore, to push boundaries. Then came the next thrill, selecting the accessories. I picked a pair of delicate pearl earrings, the kind Emma always admired, and slipped them into my ears. The weight against my lobes was comforting, grounding even, and yet it reminded me of the stakes. Every detail mattered. One misplaced item, one overlooked detail, could betray me. I moved to the vanity and applied a soft lip gloss, the subtle sheen catching the lamp's light. The mirror reflected a confident, feminine version of myself I barely recognized, yet longed to become. I practiced my voice, softening my tones, adjusting pitch and cadence. Each syllable felt foreign, yet undeniably mine. I whispered Riley's name to myself, feeling the persona solidify. This wasn't mere play acting anymore. Riley was alive, inhabiting my body, my thoughts, my fears, and my desires. But with this awakening came internal struggle. Shame twisted in my gut like a coil, reminding me of societal judgment, the risk of rejection, the possibility of losing Emma's love. Could she ever accept this side of me? Would anyone? The tension was unbearable, a mixture of longing, dread, and thrill. Every instinct screamed both to hide and to flaunt, to retreat into the safety of Ryan and to dive headfirst into Riley's existence. The suspense escalated when I noticed my phone buzzing on the counter. A text from Emma. Meeting ran late. Be home soon. Don't touch anything weird. My stomach twisted. Weird? Had she ever suspected anything? I quickly silenced the phone, pretending to focus on something mundane, but the pulse of fear and excitement mingled into a heady cocktail. Every second mattered now. Every noise, every shadow, every flicker of light could betray me. I moved to the living room, testing my confidence as Riley. The dress hugged every curve, the heels forced a sway I was just beginning to master, and the wig fell perfectly over my shoulders. I practiced small gestures, tilting my head, smoothing the hem of the dress, crossing and uncrossing my legs with the precision Riley demanded. It was a delicate dance, balancing vulnerability and poise, fear and control. Then came the first truly suspenseful moment, a knock on the door. My heart leaped. I froze, unsure whether to answer. It could be Emma, a neighbor, the delivery I had almost forgotten. Every instinct screamed to hide, but curiosity, Riley's bold, daring instinct, pulled me toward the door. I peeked through the peephole. No one. Just the empty hallway, dimly lit. My breath came in shallow bursts, pulse racing. The tension was exquisite, a reminder of how fragile my secret truly was. I returned to the bedroom, adjusting the dress again. I couldn't ignore the thrill anymore. It was intoxicating. Riley wasn't just a disguise. She was a release, a power, a secret world of her own. I twirled slightly, feeling the dress flare, the heels forcing a posture I had never dared to adopt. The mirror reflected not Ryan, not the cautious man who kept secrets behind numbers and spreadsheets, but Riley, a woman alive, daring and captivating. But even in this private sanctuary, fear remained. What if Emma walked in early? What if someone discovered the vial, the dresses, the makeup? The very things that allowed Riley to exist could become instruments of exposure. Every step, every gesture, every adjustment became a careful calculation, a negotiation between desire and danger. I sat down on the edge of the bed, taking a deep breath, letting Riley's persona settle fully over me. The thrill of transformation mingled with fear, creating a tension that was almost unbearable. And yet, it was this tension that made everything feel so vivid, so real, so alive. Riley wasn't just a secret indulgence anymore. She was a part of me, inescapable and irresistible. A sudden noise made me freeze. Emma's keys in the lock? No, too early. Perhaps a neighbor again. My pulse raced, and I realized that even the smallest sounds now carried the weight of potential exposure. Every movement mattered. Every breath was a gamble. And the more I embraced Riley, the higher the stakes became. I realized then that the night had only just begun. The transformation was complete, but the real test was yet to come. Could I maintain Riley under pressure? Could I balance fear, desire, and secrecy without unraveling? The suspense, the thrill, the danger, all coalesced into a singular, irresistible tension that promised to push me further than I had ever dared. As the city lights flickered against the apartment walls, I took one last look in the mirror. Riley's eyes met mine, confident, daring, vulnerable all at once. The persona was alive, and with it, a storm of fear, desire, and anticipation surged through me. Tonight, nothing would be the same. I was Riley. I was trapped in her existence. And the suspense of the unknown, of what could happen next, loomed larger than ever. The faint hum of the city outside was nothing compared to the storm raging in my chest. I had just finished adjusting Riley's dress and testing her posture in the mirror when the unmistakable sound of keys turning in the lock made my heart leap into my throat.
Emma.
She was home early. Riley froze mid-step, heels clicking softly on the hardwood floor. Every instinct screamed that I needed to hide, to revert to Ryan, to erase every trace of the persona that had taken over my body. But it was too late. The lavender dress clung perfectly, the wig fell flawlessly, and the subtle glow of the makeup reflected a confidence I didn't feel. Riley wasn't just alive, she was fully, intoxicatingly real. Emma stepped into the apartment, humming softly, oblivious to the tension radiating from me. She paused, eyes narrowing slightly, taking in the figure standing in the hallway. "Ryan? You okay?" she asked, though her gaze lingered, puzzled. My pulse hammered as I realized my voice, higher, softer, undeniably feminine, would betray me. Hi, Emma," I whispered, my voice trembling despite Riley's bold exterior. Heat rushed to my cheeks. My body felt exposed, yet thrillingly alive. Every fiber of Riley surged within me, urging me to own the moment, to step forward boldly and face the unknown. Emma blinked, confusion warring with curiosity. "You look different," she said slowly, almost cautiously. There was amusement in her tone, but also a hint of suspicion. My stomach twisted. This wasn't how I'd imagined the night unfolding. Panic clawed at my chest, yet beneath it, a flicker of exhilaration surged. Riley thrived on risk, on the edge of discovery, and I was now dancing there completely. The first twist came unexpectedly. A knock at the door. Another visitor. My heart jumped. Emma glanced toward the sound, clearly startled, while I tried to steady Riley's stance, smoothing the hem of the dress and adjusting the wig. Every instinct was amplified: fear, thrill, desperation, and the pure, intoxicating boldness of Riley. I moved toward Emma, placing a tentative hand on her shoulder. "Maybe we should wait a moment?" I murmured, voice trembling yet confident. Her brow furrowed, hesitant, then she nodded slightly, allowing me a reprieve. My pulse raced. Every second was a test. Every movement a gamble. Then came the second obstacle, a text from Emma's friend lighting up her phone on the counter. She glanced at it, then back at me, suspicion flickering in her eyes. The possibility of another visitor or unexpected exposure made my stomach knot. Riley surged forward, whispering courage into every trembling muscle. I had to act, to control the situation, to prevent catastrophe without revealing Ryan. The third twist hit harder than I anticipated. A small package I had forgotten about toppled onto the floor. Papers and a notebook spilled out, exposing sketches and notes I had carefully hidden. My private thoughts about Riley, my feelings about the transformation, even experiments I'd planned. Emma's eyes widened, scanning the pages. "Ryan, is this you?" she asked, voice tight with disbelief. I could feel my chest tighten. Exposure was imminent. Panic threatened to consume me, yet Riley's boldness surged. I stepped forward, lifting my chin, forcing a faint, playful smile. I can explain," I said, higher, softer, and somehow confident. The persona refused to hide. Riley was alive, demanding attention, asserting presence. Emma's gaze flicked between me and the scattered papers. Her confusion deepened, but she didn't step back. Instead, she tilted her head, curiosity and awe mingling with concern. "Explain," she repeated, softer this time. You're like this?" Before I could respond, a shadow moved in the hallway, another visitor, or something else entirely. My pulse skyrocketed. Every instinct screamed that I was trapped. Riley, however, thrived in this chaos. She adjusted the dress, smoothed the wig, and met Emma's gaze with daring composure. I could feel her courage, her audacity, her survival instinct filling every fiber of my being. Emma glanced toward the shadow, then back at me. Who's there?" she asked. Suspicion and concern mingled in her voice. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my racing thoughts. Riley whispered, "You face it. Own it." I took a deliberate step forward, heels clicking, posture straight, eyes locked on Emma. The shadow shifted again, and I caught a faint movement. Someone was observing, waiting, assessing. The stakes had never been higher. Every sound, every breath, every glance held the potential to unravel my secret entirely. The thrill and fear intertwined, electrifying every nerve in my body. Then came a symbolic moment. A gust of wind from the slightly ajar window knocked Riley's wig askew. I instinctively reached to adjust it, heart hammering. The mirror reflected a duality I hadn't fully grasped before: Ryan beneath, vulnerable and uncertain, and Riley above, daring, bold, and uncontainable. The tension was unbearable. Exposure was imminent, yet Riley refused to retreat. Emma took a cautious step closer. "Ryan, what's going on?" she whispered. Her voice carried curiosity, fear, and something else, fascination. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, the questions piling, the disbelief mingling with intrigue. My pulse raced. One wrong word, one slip, one hesitation, and everything would unravel. Then a sudden noise, a creak from the kitchen, made me spin. My heels wobbled slightly, the sound magnifying the tension. Emma followed my gaze, alarm in her eyes. The apartment felt smaller, the air heavier, every second stretching into an eternity. My mind raced. Should I confess? Should I try to change back? Riley refused to let me hide. The persona had taken control, alive, vibrant, and impossibly daring. Emma's eyes softened slightly, though uncertainty lingered. I don't know what to think," she murmured. Her voice was gentle, but the weight of discovery pressed down on me. The adrenaline, fear, and exhilaration were intoxicating. Every nerve screamed both to flee and to stand firm, to protect Ryan's secret while embracing Riley fully. The final obstacle arrived as another shadow fell across the hallway. My pulse skipped. A familiar scent reached me. Emma's friend? Or something worse? The suspense escalated, every second pregnant with the possibility of exposure. I realized then that nothing was predictable anymore. Riley's existence had collided with reality, and the world outside the mirror was watching. I adjusted the dress one last time, smoothing the wrinkles, straightening the wig. Riley's reflection in the mirror stared back, daring me to embrace this new reality, to face the consequences, to survive. Every heartbeat echoed in my chest. Every nerve was alive with fear, excitement, and desire. And then, in the dim light of the apartment, with Emma watching and the shadow lingering, I realized the truth. I was trapped. Trapped as Riley. Trapped in the persona I had created, exhilarated by, and now wholly dependent on. The suspense, the thrill, the danger, it had reached its peak. Every instinct screamed that exposure was near, yet Riley refused to surrender. The apartment was silent, save for our breathing, the soft clicking of heels, and the distant hum of the city. The night was far from over. And as Riley stared into the mirror, confident yet vulnerable, I understood one undeniable fact. There was no turning back. The transformation was complete, the stakes had never been higher, and the suspense was unbearable. The apartment fell silent. Emma's eyes, wide and searching, flicked between me and the hallway, lingering on the figure of Riley standing in the dim light. I could feel my heart hammering, every muscle tensed, as the adrenaline of the night refused to subside. The air was electric, thick with anticipation, fear, and the thrill of the secret I had worked so hard to protect, now teetering on the edge of exposure. "Ryan, are you okay?" Emma asked again, her voice soft but tinged with suspicion. My lips parted to answer, but the words caught in my throat. Riley surged forward, bold and audacious, refusing to be silenced. I took a step closer, my heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor, every motion deliberate. The persona I had carefully nurtured now dominated me completely. Emma tilted her head, curiosity battling with concern. You look different," she said slowly, almost cautiously. There was a hint of awe in her tone, but also uncertainty. My pulse raced. One wrong word, one hesitation, one slip, and the world I had hidden behind closed doors could collapse in an instant. I swallowed hard, forcing a faint, confident smile. I just wanted to try something new," I whispered, my voice higher and softer than usual. The words felt alien, yet undeniably Riley's. Every part of me, the stance, the expression, the faint tilt of my head, was designed to assert confidence and control. Emma's gaze softened slightly, but her eyes remained sharp. She was trying to understand, to process, to piece together what she was witnessing. I could see the gears turning, questions piling up in her mind, and it terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Every second stretched, every heartbeat thundered in my chest, and I knew that the fragile balance between secrecy and exposure hung by a thread. Then came the final, unexpected twist. A soft creak echoed from the hallway, the sound of the front door moving. I froze, breath caught in my chest. Emma's brow furrowed, and she instinctively took a step back. The shadow in the hallway shifted, revealing a faint silhouette I couldn't fully make out. My mind raced.
Who was it?
Another visitor? A neighbor? Someone who could destroy everything I had built? Riley's boldness surged within me, urging action. I smoothed the hem of the dress, adjusted the wig, and squared my shoulders. The persona refused to hide. I had to face the unknown, to survive, to navigate this precarious moment. I stepped forward, closing the distance between myself and Emma, my hand brushing against hers. Her gaze met mine, confusion, fear, fascination all mingling in her eyes. The tension was almost unbearable. Every movement, every sound, every glance carried the weight of potential discovery. I could feel the duality of my existence reflected in the mirror. Ryan, anxious and vulnerable beneath, and Riley, daring, vibrant, and uncontainable above. The persona I had created was no longer confined to my private world. It had collided fully with reality, and the consequences were unpredictable. Emma whispered again, her voice barely audible. I don't know what to think. The words echoed in the apartment, heavy with uncertainty. My pulse raced. One wrong move, one slip of tone, one accidental gesture, and everything could unravel. Yet Riley surged forward, refusing to back down, refusing to hide. I was alive in this moment, caught between fear and exhilaration, vulnerability and audacity. And then, the shadow in the hallway moved again, closer this time. I felt the weight of it press against me, suffocating yet electrifying. The adrenaline surged, mixing with fear and excitement, making every nerve in my body sing. Riley's eyes met mine in the mirror, a silent challenge, a dare to embrace the persona fully, to confront the unknown, to survive. Emma's gaze shifted toward the shadow, alarm sharpening her features. Who's there?" she asked, voice tight with tension. I could feel my chest tighten, my heartbeat threatening to give me away. Every instinct screamed to flee, to hide, to return to Ryan's safe, predictable life. But Riley refused. The persona was alive, vibrant and commanding. The creak of the hallway floor grew louder, deliberate. I could see the figure now, a vague silhouette, moving toward the doorway. My breath caught. Emma stepped slightly forward, curiosity and concern warring in her expression. The suspense was unbearable. 1 second, one sound, one misstep could destroy the fragile balance of secrecy and identity I had worked so hard to maintain. I adjusted the wig once more, smoothed the dress, and let my hand rest lightly on the counter. The mirror reflected a duality that had never felt so real. Ryan, trapped beneath layers of fear and longing, and Riley, bold, alive, and daring to confront whatever was coming. And then, just as the figure reached the doorway, the scene froze in that instant. The perfect cliffhanger. Emma's eyes widened in shock. My pulse raced, heels clicking softly against the floor, the tension of exposure and transformation hanging in the air like a storm waiting to break. The world outside the mirror waited. The shadow lingered. Emma's expression teetered between fear, confusion, and awe. And I realized, with a thrill that mingled with terror, that there was no going back.
I was trapped as Riley.
Trapped in this identity, exhilarated, vulnerable, and utterly exposed. The night had only just begun, and the suspense was far from over. The answers were unknown. The consequences unthinkable. And the story, my story, Riley's story, would continue in ways I could never predict.